and there are others that leave footprints that last forever. My next guest has done more for women's rights than just about anybody in America today. Please help me welcome Gloria Steinem. They love you.
You've got a great audience.
Don't I have a great audience?
I'm coming back when I'm depressed, okay?
They make you feel better. And you're wearing the leopard, you and I both.
What does it say about us that we're into animal prints, do you think?
I think it's some woman thing.
Yeah,
It's solidarity with the animals that we kill so we can wear their skin. I don't know what it is.
I do think we identify with animals, though, because you know, they're helpless and they can't speak, and so if you feel like you're in trouble in life, you especially identify with animals, right?
Yeah. You conjure a lot of feelings in me, and probably a lot of other women, too.
Well,
because you're so, the history of everything that seems like looking at you, you've always been there. You know, since I was a teenager, it was always you, and...
Well, but I feel the same way, you know, I mean, I feel this incredible, crazy gratitude, you know, to all the women and the men, you know, who said, hey, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be like that. You know, it can be different. It used to be different. It can be different again, because I grew up without knowing that. The 50s didn't tell us that. The 50s were the pits. Nobody should ever get into retro for the 50s. They were really...
Well, it's only people that were never there that are so into it.
Right.
And the people that were there are never celebrating it, right?
Right. No.
It was real isolation and scary. And
isolation and repression, and we were supposed to be female impersonators who, you know, giggled and laughed and said, how clever of you to know what time it is. And
yeah.
Right.
We were supposed to be way too impressed with men, weren't we?
Right. And also we were never supposed to get pregnant outside of marriage, and if we had an affair outside of marriage, we had to come to a bad end, you know, in all the novels and the stories and everything. I mean...
And we could only be nurses and school teachers.
Right.
We couldn't be like astronauts. I mean, we never even thought about that.
No.
Did you?
No.
Because you didn't go to school.
I mean, I'm older than you, so there were no astronauts. I mean, I have to tell you this, but...
Male or female.
Right.
Were there cars?
But I'm...
No, I'm kidding.
No, yes, but we could only drive with... We could learn how to shift so that the guys could drive with their arms around us.
Oh, my God.
But we couldn't learn how to drive ourselves.
Really?
Right.
Oh, my God, that's so fantastic. It's just fantastic. It seems like it was another planet.
So people should go out and get the film of The Best of Everything. Do you remember that? Well, anyway, it's really, it'll show you how bad it really was. I mean, people commit suicide over men and so.
Over men,
Don't ask, right?
Yeah, because when you lost your man, it was like, you know how in Indian culture, the widows throw themselves on the funeral pyre of their husband because, like, they don't have any reason to be alive now that they've lost their man.
Right.
How far did we go in the last, oh my God, how far have we come?
Yeah, I think it's important to say that because I think if we don't look backward, we don't realize how far we have come, and then we get discouraged about how far we can go, you know, because, but...
And how much farther we have to go also, huh?
Yes.
It's also still so ridiculous. I mean, like for my daughters, you know, who are in their 20s, and my son who's 20, you know, and then I have a little baby, but it's still ridiculous what they have to go through.
Well, I think, you know, there's so many ways of saying it, but I think one way is to say we've realized that women can do what men can do, and that's a big step forward because that was certainly not the 50s. But we haven't even begun to realize that men can do what women can do.
Right.
So right now women have 2 jobs. I mean, poor women always had 2 jobs, but now middle-class women also have 2 jobs, and that has to change.
But not just that men can do what women can do. We haven't even come to the beginning of what women really can do when women and men get off our...
Yes, right. No, that's true. I'm for anything that's off its... Right.
For anything.
Basically.
Right. You didn't go to public school till you were 12 years old?
No, well, I went a little bit, but not much. And I think that was really helpful because I think we get a kind of brainwashing in school about what girls and boys can do. And I didn't do that, you know, so I just read Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, you know, and thought, well, you know, nobody told me I couldn't do it all. But that's a real sad commentary about school, to think how much it limits us when it should be giving us wings.
Totally, I think it limits girls. I know it limited me. That's why I never...
Did they just tell you that you couldn't, you know, they just laid it out for you, or it was implied?
It was all implied. Nothing was ever spoken. But that's how it was in the family, too, which I want to talk to you about your dad. I want you to tell us about your dad.
Yeah, well, it's hard to express my dad simply, you know, because he was a playmate, and he was this very nice, patient person who looked after me at least as much, more than my mother, really, because my mother was ill. But he was also supremely irresponsible in a wonderful way. You know, he always had dreams, and everything was going to be great, and he never wore a hat, and he never had a job. Those were his, you know, 2 points of pride. He was kind of in and out of small-time show business, and we lived in a house trailer a lot of the time, which is why I wasn't going to school. Wow. So, you know, I think, but the point was that he loved me. I mean, I always knew that he loved me. I always knew that he liked my company. And so, you know, I didn't grow up looking for distant or cruel or cold men, as many women do, because their fathers were distant. So they're still trying to get their fathers to love them.
Well, what was it in your childhood that, I mean, what did you see? Because I know I saw stuff as a girl that I didn't think other girls or boys or any living person saw about being a girl.
Yeah. Well, I guess I saw it, but I thought that I could get around the system or something. I don't know. But then...
But what did you see?
Well, I just saw terrific vulnerability and humiliation. I saw girls and women being humiliated and being physically endangered, being afraid to go out in the street. And out of pride, you know, I would pretend that wasn't going to happen to me, but it was always there. And also I saw what happened to my mother, and she was kind of broken-spirited. Not because my father was not a nice person, but because that's the way the world ran. She had to give up everything she loved and cared about. She was a newspaper reporter. She had to give that up, wow. You know. So I guess for a long time I went...
So you just saw women giving up, you saw your mom giving up her dreams, but your dad had dreams.
Yeah, he had dreams, and but I don't know how to explain it. I guess I went through life saying, like I think a lot of us do, I'm not going to be anything like my mother. Because I didn't want to admit that it could also happen to me. So now when I hear young women saying, I hope I can have as interesting a life as my mother.
Isn't that cool? It
brings tears to my eyes, you know, because it's just so different.
And a lot of that is because of you.
Well, I'm real glad to have not got stuck in the 50s, you know, and to be part of it.
You pushed a lot of us through that maybe we wouldn't have gone through if we didn't always see you there with those funky glasses and everything else you have going there.
But we do it for each other, you know. I mean, it's just because you did it for me too. I mean, there were you saying, hey, you know, you living in a trailer, and you know, all of this is great. It's part of life, and you can take it to stardom.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to pretend to be some other human being.
Also, that it's okay to like not be rich.
Yes, right.
Yeah, that was the one that stuck me with all the other. But I saw too when I was a little girl, how come the men got to make fun of the women in my family, but the women could never make fun of the men. So that's where it all came from. Because I'd be standing there, I remember 4 years old, and my uncle would make fun of my grandmother, and he'd say, well, you don't know how to cook, you're a greenhorn, and you put too much grease in the soup. And I was 4, and I'd be like, well, then how come you're eating 3 bowls of it, you fat slob? And my mom, no, this was like intense lessons, and my mother would slap me, and my grandma, they'd yell at me, they'd go, you don't talk to him that way. Be like, well, how come he talks to you that way?
Yeah.
You're older than him, so it can't be an age thing.
But see, that's the miracle. What is there in people that insists on fairness and that speaks out like that? I mean, what made you do that?
Well, because I just thought everything was a bunch of BS. It was just BS, and I knew it. I don't know why I knew it.
But what gave you this built-in BS detector? You know, that's what's so great, you know?
I think it was my dad. Like you said about your dad. My dad had intense you know, BS detector, like nobody I've ever seen in my life, but then he couldn't tell about himself. And I think that's my big fear, is that I won't be able to tell in myself. But that's why I have all these kids. They tell me every day, oh, Mom, you're so full of it. Hey, how come you never got married?
Just lucky, but no, I mean. I saw some stand-up woman comic, you know, saying that, you know, she said, people ask me why I'm not married. I just say I can't mate in captivity. And I knew if I said it, I would get in big trouble, but ultimately I couldn't resist. No, but it was because the picture of marriage that was presented to me was one that was designed for a person and a half, you know, not for two whole people.
Right.
So I kept saying, I'm going to get married. I'm definitely doing that.
How are you so smart, though? I mean...
Well, why I wasn't smart, it just seemed so unattractive. I mean, it just seemed like I'll only do that if everything else fails, you know. Well, I can always get married. But that's not true now. I mean, marriage can now be a real partnership.
And now you're not going with anybody now. You've had a lot of great men in your life.
Yes, right.
You've had great
I'd like to feel I've
with men.
fairly represented the population.
Very cool. Stick around, because later on in the show, we're going to try to find you a new boyfriend. We'll find out. Are you good enough for Gloria? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Gloria, do you believe that men are becoming obsolete?
No, just selectively. Just Rush Limbaugh is obsolete. Everybody else is.
Okay. Because somebody told me the Y chromosome is starting to disappear. It's getting weaker and weaker. I was kind of excited to hear that. But anyway, we have Gloria Steinem and 3 eligible guys who are just dying to go out with her. We're going to play Are You Good Enough for Gloria? Eligible man number 1, say something nice to Gloria.
Gloria, good afternoon. How are you today?
Number 2. Number 3.
How are you, Gloria? I hope you're well.
Okay, Gloria, go ahead and ask your eligible young man and old man. Ask them a question.
Okay, this is a question for eligible men 1 and 2. Did you vote in the last election? And if so, what party did you vote for?
Well, Gloria, I must admit the truth. I did not vote in the last election. I'm truly waiting for someone who could do something good about this country in the future.
Okay.
Interesting.
Eligible guy number 2.
Yeah, I voted 3 times in the last election. I used my name and 2 of my cousins. But then they threw it all out, so it doesn't really matter because I'm a convicted felon.
Okay.
Yeah, this sounds just like my life. This is the kind of choice I always had.
Okay, now what's your next question?
Okay, when you take me out on our date, tell me how our dream evening would go.
I figure I'd come by, you know, I hope you live close to like a bus. But I come by, you know, I figure it's a date, I fix myself up, and come by, and maybe we go someplace and, you know, get some tall boys, knock back a couple of brews, and then if we're both in the mood, we go for it.
Which one of Batman's villains, wait a minute, this is for 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Okay. Which one of Batman's villains best describes your lovemaking? The Joker, the Riddler, or Mr. Freeze?
I think it's the Joker. You'd probably laugh a lot.
Okay, and number 3?
I think I'd like to be the Joker, because I think this whole thing is very funny.
I think you should ask number 1, too, or 2. Ask 2 also.
Okay, 2, you also get a crack at this question. Which one of Batman's villains best describes your lovemaking, the Joker, the Riddler, or Mr. Freeze?
Wasn't Dr. Tongue one of Batman's villains, too? I'm not all checked out on those
That was
villains. I
number
went to
2?
community
Yeah.
college.
Okay, so Gloria, go ahead then and pick your, which one do you want to go out with?
Well, I think that we can take a vote. Okay, wait a minute. I'm gonna make up my own mind here. Okay.
She's making up her own
All right.
mind.
All right. You know, one at least has some idealism, I figure, even though the guy doesn't vote. What can I say? So, and also a sense of humor. So I'll take 1, but with 2 as a backup, because because we should also always have sex to back up seriousness. Okay.
Woo, Gloria! All right, well, let's pick who you didn't choose then.
Okay.
Let's meet who you didn't choose. Gloria, you did not choose eligible guy number 3. Let's meet him. This eligible guy is famous in the world of fashion, can dress you up and take you out. If you have a question about what looks good with what, he has all the answers. Meet the man with the most famous list, Mr. Blackwell. Okay, and you also didn't pick, you just picked him as a backup. Eligible guy number 2 is your backup guy. This famous singer-songwriter likes to play a wicked game. With 5 gold records and platinum albums to his name, he likes a woman who's independent, has her own interests, most importantly, a woman who will make sure his socks and underwear are clean. Meet Chris Isaak.
Pleasure.
And now,
We're together now.
when this doctor, good, is not in the operating room, he enjoys cooking for that special someone, you like that, riding his powerboat, and exploring the south of France. He loves rollerblading on the beach, and he's an ace on the tennis court. Meet Dr. Mark Wittman. Congratulations. Go over there by Gloria. And I hope you and Mark Wittman have a great time at the dinner at Il Cello. Thank you, Mr. Blackwell and Chris Isaak, for playing Are You Good Enough for Gloria? We'll be right back.